Moving along, Carl in Camarillo, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Carl.
Leo, great to talk to you.
Thanks for calling.
Hey, I've been listening to the show for a while. Really appreciate it. I've got a question about a Wi-Fi brick. You know, the little like deck of cards size thing that you can get from Verizon. It's a 4G brick that I bought last year.
Yeah.
It worked great for like the first 5 months that I had it. Then it started dropping the Wi-Fi signal. It wasn't broadcasting it anymore, and it was kind of intermittent. It kind of usually worked, and that percentage just kept going the wrong direction to where it usually wasn't working. And of course, I'm going into business meetings with this website I just launched recently, trying to show the thing off and making sure I have a good connection, and this thing's dying on me.
I just say get a new one. It sounds like it's broken. You know, if you think about it, these things they're small. There's a lot of heat going on in there. I'm not surprised to hear it might wear out.
Yeah, well, I went back to, I went to a Verizon store, and they sent me a new one, a refurbished one, supposedly.
Yeah.
And I got it, and the same kind of thing was happening with it.
Frustrating.
You know? And it was very annoying. And so here's the real question is, I just got one of the new iPads. Now, that thing can tether as well, but you have to go to a Verizon store and get an account. I'm thinking of going to them and seeing if I can just transfer my account from that little brick that keeps
I'm sure you can. Yeah.
Because if I can do that, now the only downside, of course, to that is that it's not as small. I really like the iPad, the newest one, but you know the cool thing about the brick is you got it in your pocket in your.
They don't even know it's there. You just have magical internet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I really loved the brick size, but I just can't stand the difficulties I'm having.
Apparently, according to Professor Messer in our chat room. There is a firmware upgrade for the MiFi that does improve this problem. So this is a known problem which they have attempted to fix. So I would check to see if you can update the firmware.
Okay, I'll look into that. Can I mention my website real quick? I just launched it last month.
Sure.
Yeah, it's totalcarscore.com, totalcarscore.com, and I just launched it because I was at Edmunds.com for 13 years as their editor-in-chief.
Oh, really? No kidding.
Yeah, and I left about a year ago, and I just launched this site, and it's basically Rotten Tomatoes for cars.
Brilliant.
You go to one site, and all the main scores from all the authoritative sites are in one location. And then I link to all the individuals, so you can still jump back and find all the individual scores if you want, and they're listed right there next to the car. But there's an overall score that I've converted, done a data normalization into one score.
This is brilliant. Are you trying to raise money for this?
That's a great question. We're kind of oscillating. It's been me and another partner who was the main data guy that ran Edmunds data development for years. He and I started this with a third guy, and it's mostly been our own money, and we're surviving, but we haven't, we're trying to decide, okay, is it time to get serious about this? The traffic and the Google Analytics has been very positive. So people engage immediately once they find the site. It's really just an awareness thing. So
the Rotten Tomatoes model is a great model, and I bet you could raise money on this because you go to venture capitalists and say, one line, Rotten Tomatoes for cars. They get it immediately. Your background at Edmunds, which is one of the most prestigious car review sites out there, establishes immediate credibility. I got it immediately. Rotten Tomatoes. So the idea of Rotten Tomatoes, for those who don't know, is it aggregates reviews of movies, gives it a score, and it's either a Rotten Tomato or I can't remember. It's a green tomato or a red tomato, and immediately. And plus, it has user reviews. Hey, Carl, hang on because I want to talk some more with you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. What a great idea! Did we bring down the site? Good. There's something wrong with this song. Are you running at 78 again? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. That was weird. We're talking to Carl in Camarillo who has a classic idea, and this is kind of a little lesson in a startup. So it's one of the reasons I wanted to spend a little bit more. I hope you don't mind a little more time with you, Carl. So, Carl, you were editor-in-chief at Edmunds for how long?
I was there for 13 years. I was editor-in-chief for about 10 years.
Wow. And I
was there when I joined when there were 33 people. It's now like 500.
Now, I have to say, one of the things when you read a car magazine or you go to Edmunds, you always wonder, well, how editorially independent are these guys? Because they have ads for the companies that they're writing about.
Right.
So now that you're not there anymore, how editorially independent are these guys?
I had come from Peterson Publishing, which is now Source Interlink, before Edmunds, and one of the nicest things about going to Edmunds was how refreshing it was in terms of its really feeling independent.
Good.
When I got there with 33 people and all, it was very much independent. Did it stay that independent throughout my 13 years? It was generally very independent.
You've said enough. We don't have to go any farther, Carl. And you and your buddy have left the company. And now, so you're both founders of this new place. By the way, we completely
TotalCarScore.com.
Keep plugging it. We brought it down, so don't say it. There's no point in mentioning it anymore. You can't get there.
Okay.
I mean, literally, you can't get there.
You probably have crashed it, haven't you?
Oh yes, we crashed it almost immediately. I was getting a MySQL error.
Seriously?
Oh yeah.
Look at this. Now I'm trying to go,
no, you
Leo,
can't.
what'd you do to my site?
Dude, you come on a radio show and you mention a site like this, you're going to get some traffic.
It won't load. What did you do to my site?
I broke it. We do this all the time because I'll tell you, and it's not, I don't know who's hosting your site, but generally speaking, you don't pay for having 5,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 people hitting a site all at once. You can't afford that. Nobody can afford that except maybe Facebook and Google. So we overwhelmed your site. You're not normally going to get that kind of peak traffic. But I tell you, it shows that there's some interest in this idea. So, and you have a perfect line. You're what they call the elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch, right?
The idea is you get in the elevator with John Doerr, the guy who has millions of money. He's an angel or a venture capitalist. He's got tons of money. He's dying to find a great company. You get in the elevator. You've got 15 seconds to tell John Doerr what your site is all about in such a way that he says, well, I'd like to know more. So you got it. You got the elevator pitch. It's Rotten Tomatoes for cars. End of story. It's great.
And I couldn't believe it, Leo. I mean, I got to tell you, when it struck me, there was almost a cold sweat that broke out. Oh, God, someone's done that by now. And there was like about a 20-minute period of me searching the Internet. It was like, oh, my gosh. My gosh.
No, there's nobody. And you know who else is doing this, not for cars, but for gadgets? My friends Ryan Block and Peter Rojas, who used to be at Engadget. There's a very similar story. They used to be at Engadget, the great gadget blog. They started their own blog, gdgt.com, or Gadget. And they made a pivot. For the first year, they were like talking, it was a social site for people who said, I want this gadget, I like this gadget, with social reviews. They decided to do Rotten Tomatoes for gadgets. And so now if you go to Gadget, gdgt.com, what you'll see is their score plus an aggregation of all the scores from all the other gadget blogs. I think this is what people want, at least initially. You want kind of same thing. If you're going to a movie, you don't want to spend an hour reading reviews of the movie. You want a quick thumbs up or thumbs down, and you can do that at Rotten Tomatoes. You look at the tomato score, you go, hey, 86%. This must be a pretty good movie.
Leo, nobody sits down at a computer today and says, gee, you know what I wish I had? More information on that. That's what I want. Nobody does that. A lot of people sit down and say, gosh, you know what I wish I had? A way to filter all that information that's already out there.
Now, cars are a little different because I think before a movie is a quick, you don't want to spend a lot of time before you go to a movie, but it's only $10. A car, you're spending a lot of money. You probably do want more information, but I think you also want to pare down the choices quickly to a handful that you can then research. So I think this is a great idea.
Well, if you know those scores are all coming from authoritative sites, if someone sits down with you and says, look, here's a stack of stuff I went through, and here's the answer on this sticky note, and I'm an expert, and these people are all experts in this stack. Most people are like, just give me the answer then, if that's the background that you've gone through. But some people are going to say, well, I want to go through that stack myself, especially on a big purchase. I got all the links. I've got all the direct. You go right to not just the home page of these sites, but to the very model page for there. So you aren't bouncing through all of their pathing to get to their model page. You go right from my, Honda Accord page to their Honda Accord page for the same year, make, model.
So the next question John Doerr is going to ask you is, and how do you monetize?
And it's the same thing that most of these sites use. It's advertising and dealer leads.
There's actually a really good monetization point here, because even if you don't get ads, if you send a prospect to a dealer about to buy a car, there's some big bucks in that.
There's a third one, Leo, syndication. How many sites out there have a lot of great information on cars, but they don't have a nice encapsulated number that tells you how good or bad the car is according to the expert opinion? Right. How many sites out there could utilize some syndication?
Very interesting,
little total car score.
Or even dealers.
Exactly.
TotalCarScore.com says 83%.
Think of the dealer sales tool. You're out walking around the lot as a salesman, and you've got an iPad or some tablet with you, and you're walking up, and the consumer says, well, I'm thinking of this car, but what about that car? Or I was going to come buy a Civic, but you guys are out of Civics. What about the Fit? Well, here, Total Car Score gives the Fit one of the highest scores in its category.
I think you've got, Carl, I think you got a tiger by the tail. I think this is a very good idea.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I'm just looking for trying to make.
Now
sure
you know why people raise money. By the way,
Yeah.
For
yeah,
bigger
it's
servers.
All of a sudden it was like, I mean, well, we knew we might have to jump, get in with the big boys and get some big money, but I think you just with your listener
And you can
base.
say that. We mentioned it on the radio and the site went down. You can mention that. I think that tells you there's some interest in it. Good luck,
Well,
Carl. I think that's great.
Come back and give me another try when the site's back up after the mob has gone down. But I really appreciate your time, and thanks for the advice. Like I said, I think I'm going to get the iPad tetherable, and I'll just transfer that.
I think that's a great way to do it. Although do check to see if your MiFi can be updated, because if there's new firmware that addresses that specific issue, that might really just fix it all for you.
Leo, can't thank you enough.
Good luck, Carl. It's rare, I hear a lot of pitches for new ideas, new sites, and there's a ton of them. It's rare that you hear one that you go, oh, that's a guaranteed hit. What do you think? Do you think that's a guaranteed hit? Seems to me that's a pretty good idea. That it's all about execution. We did an interview on Wednesday. I like to talk to founders. Entrepreneurs are fascinating people. They're gutsy. They're bold. They have vision. They're taking huge chances. It's a lot easier to, take a 9-to-5 job and get a check, and a lot more risky to go out there and make your idea a reality. But what's great about the modern internet is you can do this fairly inexpensively. I'm sure Carl and his partner didn't spend a lot of money to get this site up and running. Proof of concept. Now the hard part comes, which is building a business, making it succeed. Raising the money is maybe easy compared to that. On Wednesday, I interviewed